Hello, I'm Sudarshana Starshine Star. How are all of you guys doing? I hope very well. It is a beautiful Thursday. It is September 4th, 2025. I have a YouTube channel called It's the Dazzling of the Light, or you can just go to YouTube and type in at Sudarshana Starshine Star to access my over 260 podcasts there now on a variety of interesting and juicy topics. So why not join? It's free. Why not hit the notification bell, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate you. Thank you. I like to begin all of my clips with the 3 opening prayers in Sanskrit and Telugu, and they are short. It's the Guru Mantra, the Ganesha Mantra, and the Gayatri Mantra. And I do this to bless, uplift, purify, and protect you, me, and this clip. Before I do that, I'm going to command on the sacred blood. So let me say, I'm commanding now on the sacred blood of Jesus the Christ, Yeshua, to flow over all of us and all of our beloveds, all of our human beloveds and all of our animal beloveds, to bless all of us and to remove any negativity, any fear, doubt, worry, harm, lack, cast out the spirit of pain, cast out the spirit of fear, cast out the spirit of shame and blame, cast out all satanics and all satanic attachments, cast out all demonics and all demonic attachments. And we thank you so much, Jesus the Christ. Send your healing presence now. Thank you. Please heal the wounds in our soul, Jesus. Thank you. Jesus the Christ, Yeshua, we receive your healing. Thank you so much. And I also call on Mother Mary, the divine Mother Mary, to bless us with her beautiful heart, her endless unconditional love of a true mother, her protection, her strength, her patience, her willingness to be the best that she can be. Yes, that's one way she won her victory. And I'm asking her to extend that to all of us according to the will of whomever is listening, because that is a personal choice and that is between you and God. Anyway, Amen. Swaha. Now to the prayers. Om, Om, Om. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam, Tasmahi Sri Guruve Namaha. Om Suklam Bharataram Vishnum, Sishivarnam Chatupujam, Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sarva Vignu Prashantaye. Om Bhur Suvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhaku Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yonaha Prachotayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Wonderful. Well, today I'm going to start off with something. I had something else to put out that's really more of like what's just happening right now, but I want to put this out first. So here we go. I am sharing this from True Life News. Joel Murrow, a great podcaster. Really appreciate him. And he said, Congress is finally back from their long vacation, and a lot of things are moving. Trump is moving to declare 2 national emergencies in the United States of America at this time, one being for the illegal alien deportations and the other being for a national housing emergency. And of course, I have better news to share, but I'm just going to read this right now. A big showdown because Trump just got hit with some orders from some judges that went totally against him, big time, Joel says. Now he's taking it to the Supreme Court. We got new crime bills that will affect every single city in the United States. We got, and once again, I'm quoting Joel. I want to say we've got, but he said we got, so I have to quote what he said. We got new revisions to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid that are going to be touted in the second big, beautiful bill. Everybody, big things. Reason being is because of the tariff revenue. Scott Bessent is U.S. Treasury Secretary. He's tying the tariff revenue to Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid, helping to fund them. And this is going to be put into law. So it makes it that the tariffs don't go anywhere and we stop getting ripped off by other countries in the world. But President Trump is moving to declare a huge national housing emergency in the next coming months. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said that 20 million illegal aliens has entered into the country and broke the housing system. That's why prices skyrocketed. And I'm adding a note here, listener. New studies by the Pew, P-E-W, research came out and said that out of the approximately, in the United States, we have approximately 330 million people. And out of that population, over 90 million people are illegal aliens. And that is a lot. So then I'm going to go back to what Joel's saying. He said, he's quoting again Scott Bessent, you tie that with 9% inflation during the Biden administration and all the wasteful spending on DEI programs and over foreign policy. We dug ourselves into a huge big hole and we have to get ourselves out. Then Joel says, guys, this is big stuff. So much moving today. We're done with the holidays. We're moving into this big month, the budget month. Big, beautiful bill. This is huge. Not only that, Trump had a huge win at the D.C. court rule, and they ruled 2-1 that President Trump can axe an additional $16 billion in climate grants. And I have to say, as a note, listener, you mean the incredible green scams? Oh, some of the worst scams ever. President Trump can axe an additional $16 billion in climate grants that were awarded to 15, quote, nonprofits, end quote. Yeah, because we know that they were definitely profiting from it, just not we the people, that were put into place by Joe Biden. I'm telling you, everyone, one by one, we're chopping off the wasteful spending big time. The Trump DOJ is also suing the state of Illinois for giving discounted tuition to illegal aliens. Yes, you heard me right. You're an American citizen, you got to pay full price. But if you're an illegal alien, you get a discount. Okay, this one right here is being fast-tracked into the emergency docket of the Supreme Court because U.S. District Court Judge Charles Breyer ruled that President Donald Trump's troop deployment in California was illegal. They tout this as a win for Governor Gavin Newsom. Trump said, not so fast. We're going to the Supreme Court. We're going to stop having partisan judges rule in favor of Democratic policies. Now that Congress is back, finally getting some things moving across the nation, Chicago is getting more scared every single day because Trump literally has more troops being sent to them. Huge breaking news. 2 national emergencies across the board. Trump's not holding back. We are full steam ahead, everybody. We are going to fight this because right now they're trying to push the narrative that Trump is trying to defund the police. And I have to say, oh my goodness, hello, what a joke. And then Joel says, you cannot make this up, saying that he's trying to defund the police by just bringing in the military. Again, it's all about what needs to be done to protect America. And as Trump is moving forward and weighing the national housing emergency, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says, we cannot hold back anymore. When we look at how many, 20 million illegal aliens came in, the interest rates that have not moved because Jerome Powell is being partisan. Trump GOP faces tough choices for the second tax bill. That's about to happen, guys. All this stuff is coming out today. The reason being is because Trump wants to make sure that people can buy homes, people can start new businesses, and people can actually survive with removing as many illegal aliens as possible. Because remember, every one of those people is going to live in a home. They're going to rent. Why do you think things skyrocketed? Why do you think inflation just went through the roof? And Trump is moving. What can we do through this new big budget bill that we're about to pass? Big stuff is about to change, but we need an overhaul of the government. I'm telling you, it's always these judges that are not prosecuting people, and now they're actually siding with the crime. Trump sends in the National Guard into California, and some crime goes away. But that federal judge ruled that Trump violated military law by activating National Guard in California. A big showdown is about to happen. The Supreme Court has got to rule. That is, are you the President of the United States? Are you allowed to keep America safe? Are you allowed to actually go out and reduce crime? Because if there are cities that are supporting illegal immigration, funding illegal actions by giving all of our taxpayer dollars to illegal aliens, is that even allowed? Is that constitutional? But yet you want to rule that Trump can't go in and protect people. And you know why? I told you we're bringing the receipts today. DC Circuit Court just ruled 2-1 that President Trump can axe an additional $16 billion in climate grants awarded to 15 nonprofits by Joe Biden. The court even said that Obama Judge Chutkan abused her discretion, blocking Trump from cutting the funds earlier. Do you see how common sense is starting to win out? But every single time that they have to take this to an appeals court or they take this to the Supreme Court, Trump is winning big time. Right now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, our girl, said, and I want to interrupt Joel here because I have to put this little note in here, people. He said, Marjorie Taylor Greene, our girl. And if you've listened to me before, you've heard me talk about how many of the white hats are playing the part of what looks like he would say our guys, our girls. But if you do any research at all, if you've been paying attention, excuse me for a moment, I'm walking around. I hope you can still hear me. I'm not being too noisy. If you've been paying attention, you would know the true background, for instance, of the Pam Bondi 1.0, or the true background of the Elon Musk 1.0, because right now we're about on Elon Musk 3.0 or 4.0, or the Vice President J.D. Vance. This is a 2.0. This is an actor wearing a Hollywood hyperskin face mask with voice box technology. That is not the 1.0, as I've said so many times. J.D. Vance, just look at the inauguration. President Trump is tall, somewhere between 6'2", 6'3". He's a little bent with age now, but J.D. Vance was taller than he was. And look at when they went to Saudi Arabia, how much taller Elon Musk was over all of them. The original J.D. Vance was 5'7". I've showed on my other social media posts, as I've said before, and I know it's a scathing commentary, but that's just how I feel about it, because the 1.0 J.D. Vance, like all of these 1.0s, they were evil people, and they're not freely walking around, but they're being used. I think they were used as like fly traps or honey traps to catch some of the minions of the evils, because they thought that was the original Pam Bondi from Florida 1.0 that was involved with the Church of Scientology and several other terrible things. Or they thought that was the original J.D. Vance, maybe, if they didn't see him stand up, if they were just talking to him on the phone or Skyping or something, because if he stood up, they'd see he's not 5'7". Like I said, in the photo that I showed from some years ago, the little 5'7" J.D. Vance with a yarmulke on at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem with his short, little, tiny, stocky pony legs. Look at J.D. Vance now, those long arms and long legs. I mean, common sense, just use your eyes, people. But I understand that people find it hard to believe, but that's just what's going on. That's what it takes. It's a great big show taking down the evils and the evil elites and all of their minions. So, as I was saying, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the original Marjorie Taylor Greene was a guy. It was a Baphomet. It was a biological male that had some kind of a boob job. Maybe not, because that person was muscular, working out a lot. But I'll refer you look back, because you can still access this, to when, let's see, they were having the hearings to try to instate Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. And they were showing, even though people weren't questioning, why are the seats all empty around everyone? When you go to the Congress, when you're in the House, whatever, there's just like couple people and rows of empty seats. That's because they were already taken care of. You need to understand that. By taken care of, I mean picked up. Yes. So if you look at that, for example, that confirmation hearing, you'll see, and Matt Gaetz was another one. He was a pedo, Matt Gaetz 1.0. He was also very short. He had a little, kind of a tiny little body with a huge, huge head. Yes, unusual looking person. And he was also on the dark side and also a pedo. Um, Look at how tall he is in those confirmation hearings when they were when he was sitting right next to Marjorie Taylor Greene. You think she didn't notice that he went from being like a tiny guy with a huge head to he looked like he was 6'2" as he was standing up and walking around in the chambers when they were arguing and conferring back and forth about whether or not to instate Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker? You think if that was really Marjorie Taylor Greene, she wouldn't notice that her best bud, Matt Gaetz, that she was always walking all around town with, like, Matt, you grew several feet. No. So anyway, that Marjorie Taylor Greene was not good on the dark side as well. But all the 2.0s, or in case of Elon Musk, which I call a 3.0 or a 4.0, they are white hat actors doing good works and good deeds for the sake of humanity. They're doing very good works. And then I think when the time for this to go over, when enough of the cleanup has happened, they can kind of just melt into the background. I don't know how that will work out, but it's like the originals, the 1.0s, are not freely walking around, and many of them are not on the earth because crimes against humanity and treason are capital crimes. And that gets capital punishment. So anyway, let me go back to this reading. So Joel says, right now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, our girl, said the fastest way to end the housing crisis is to pass my bill eliminating capital gains taxes on selling your home so that people don't lose equity. And then Joel saying, because this is it right here. President Trump moving to declare a national housing emergency this fall to address skyrocketing home prices in America. People can't afford their homes. They can't afford their electricity bills. They can't afford all this stuff. Why? Because there's so much demand. When you allow 20 million illegal aliens to flood in within a span of 2, 3, 4 years, this is what you get. Now, this is Steve Bannon speaking on Joel's clip. Steve says, this whole thing is you can't be MAGA and be anti-Israel. Look, you can be pro-Israel, you can be anti-Israel. You can do anything you want as long as you put America first, not Israel first. You can be MAGA. So we don't need a foreign leader, particularly a vassal state. They are a protectorate. They are a protectorate. You saw this in the 12-Day War. They didn't have the ability, didn't come close to the ability to take out the NUCLEAR enrichment program, including above ground, which Navy submarine with Tomahawk MISS ILES, which I might add, and he's speaking to, I don't like this reporter, I'm just going to call him Jack P. Speaking to Jack P. Jack, correct me if I'm wrong. The Tomahawk is a 1970s technology. Okay, for the vaunted Israeli Air Force, who we had to take out the above ground with Tomahawk missiles from the North Arabian Sea, we also had to protect by sending Aegis, spelled AEGIS, cruisers, and our air defense, and 25% of our THAAD missile defense. THAAD is spelled THAAD, to basically provide MISSILE defense for Tel Aviv and other areas, because the Iron Dome and David Sling and all the stuff they promote didn't work to the degree that the ballistic MISSILES and what the Iranians were hitting them with. This is why President Trump did the massive raid, and President Trump is locked in. He's saying, hey, total obliteration of their NUCLEAR enrichment program. So, end of discussion. They want to have regime change. Let the Persian people do it, or the Israelis, if they can finish what they started, and don't need to drag us in, which obviously they need to drag us in, and they're going to try to drag us into Gaza. Look what we have to be on guard about. Because this Gaza thing is tough as the IDF, that's the Israeli Defense Forces, is, and this commander of the IDF is a pretty tough hombre. When a guy like that saying, hey, I think we really got to think this thing through before we do this, and I don't like the way Bibi Benjamin Netanyahu. And these guys, I mean, he, in this meeting, and this is what's reported by the Jerusalem Post, which is like the Times of Israel, and even all the right-wing bloggers, he threw up to Bibi and these guys, where were you guys on October 7th? Where were you on October 8th? Where were you on October 9th? So there's a big gap now you're seeing between the IDF and the politicians. And I just want to make another quick note here. I've shown so many times, and if you go on my YouTube page, wasn't that long ago, just scroll down and you'll see 2 posts back to back showing a young Benjamin Netanyahu, a black and white photo of him, of his high school graduation picture. Because yeah, Benjamin went to high school in the United States of America. A lot of people don't know that. As well, the White Hats have been showing for a very long time. The last time they showed it, I just laughed. It was on national news. It had a national news banner going underneath it, like a Wall Street, ticker tape like they do. It wasn't on some small little internet thing. It was national news, and the White Hats were making it known they wanted people to see, for those that have eyes to see. And I don't know how people didn't, but there was Benjamin Netanyahu doing an official speech being broadcast on national mainstream United States of America news channels, and his hyperskin face mask ended 2 inches above his throat, showing not only a demarcation line, which they often show, and the difference in the color of the skins and the skin texture. It's crazy. This is the worst I've ever seen, other than Kamala Harris, which looked like that person had swallowed like a grapefruit on the side of the neck, or had a huge goiter for no reason. Very crazy things. They try to show people that these are 2.0s. But Benjamin Netanyahu 2.0, his hyperskin face mask not only ended 2 inches above his neck and was clearly visible, it had at least an inch of ruffle. The worst, most exaggerated ruffle I've ever seen. I was thinking it was like a ball gown from the 1800s, or a ballerina tutu, or something like that. It was the worst, extreme, exaggerated ruffle. No human skin can ever do that. And he was just talking like that, and so many people just didn't notice it. Yeah, and I've posted it on my other social medias, several times. So look that up. It's all is not what it appears to be. Why I'm saying that is the people right after those October, ATTACKS, the Israeli people were shocked when they were witnessing and experiencing that it wasn't just HAMAS that was attacking. They saw that HAMAS were let in. They were betrayed by their own government. Once again, does that sound familiar? Yeah, that happening a lot all over the world, because all of our governments, for the most part, have been infiltrated by the satanic, pedophile elites, they call themselves, and their armies of minions. And so what you're seeing right now across the board, everywhere, I'm just so shocked that so many people, they don't even know how much trouble Europe is in and how it's really on fire, and all the things that are going on in so many countries, much less in other parts of the world. They just are not unaware of it. And we, the people, are, it's just really catching, because through experience of what these satanic elites are trying to do to we the people are finally saying, listen, we're going to stand up now. Now we're going to stand up, because we just can't carry on anymore. We're going to stand up to this. So it is like a holy war, but not the kind of holy war that demented people call a holy war. Not like the misinterpretation of a JIHAD, which in its proper context, like it would in any religion that is actually holy, sacred, and proper, and wanting to lead you to the Creator, the truest holy war is within. It's between good and evil, and it's for all of us. We have to battle that. No one can do that for us. Mother, Father, God can help us by extending grace, but that's the great battle that we all have to win. And just like so many things in so many major religions, when the devil gets in there and corrupts these religions and turns that into what you see, which is was infiltrated into the Quran, for example, making it like that's an exterior thing where, I don't have to spell it out, where every single person who is not following Muslim, according to the demented, infiltrated ones, then everyone needs to be wiped, like off the earth. And of course, there are many, many good Muslims. Just like in every religion, there's many goodly and godly people, but it's the ones that you can see. Just look at their fruits. When it happens, look at how many Christians actually preach a very satanic agenda and what they are trying to brainwash the people about. Same thing, you can see it with the difference between the real Hebrews and the fake JEWSs, who are called Khazaria Mafia. Same thing even with fake Buddhists. Look at the Dalai Lama, what an evil CIA stooge that being is, and also a pedophile who got caught some years ago in that disgusting display of trying to suck a young boy's tongue who was standing before him receiving a kata, or a white ceremonial scarf around his neck. And Dalai Lama was so far gone, he knew he was being filmed. He didn't even try to hide it. I mean, this stuff is just so rampant, and now it's just so in your face. It's just all over the place. And it's really time for people to wake up to it who don't know about it, or who stick their heads in the sand. So back to Joel's, now he's saying a change of topic. He's saying there was a Canadian that had illegally voted in the United States for 20 years. There's a 60-year-old man named Denis Bouchard, and he's been indicted for illegally voting in federal elections in 2022 and 2024. And if convicted, he could face up to 5 years in prison for each count. And Joel is saying it's such a lie that our elections haven't been so full of cheating and corruption. And this is why we have to have 100%. We have to do a mid-decade census, because we know there was cheating. And one of the biggest things that it helps to decide congressional maps. And does this have anything to do with redistricting? And Joel says, yes, it certainly does. In fact, we know that the 2020 census, the errors were almost always to the detriment of red states. Blue states like Rhode Island, we do know that the Census Bureau's own audit of its work has proven that blue states like Rhode Island were overcounted. Rhode Island didn't lose a seat. Red states like Alabama were undercounted. Listen, that's just a fact. It wasn't all red-blue, but it was disproportionately red. And Joel also mentions that the wonderful, wink wink, Ilhan Omar from Somalia, she basically hates the United States, and her net worth skyrockets to as much as $30 million after denying she was a millionaire. And I'm saying this note, Joel didn't say it, and well, she also denied that she married her brother, but that happened. So her net worth has skyrocketed roughly 3,500% in the last year. Isn't that funny? Joel says, I'm so sick of this. He says, I'm so sick that people go into Congress, ain't worth a dime because they've never built anything, and when they come out a couple of years later, worth millions and millions of dollars. You've got to see it. Yep. So before I go on to another interesting section, I'm putting this note in because this is addressing something that just happened today. It's very good news for restoring law and order in my country, in the United States of America. Today, the Supreme Court handed President Trump yet another victory. I think this was his 17th consecutive victory. I might be wrong on that. I think so. But they're saying, yes, President Trump, even though the lower district courts kept trying to stop him, they said, yes, President Trump, end deportation protection for illegal immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. And those total 500,000 illegal immigrants. And as of right now, their deportation protections don't exist. So they need to go back to their countries. Now, Senator Josh Hawley was interviewed by Laura Ingraham, and Laura said, I'm delighted he's with us as always, Senator Hawley. This is kind of wild because for years the Democrats said Trump's tone is not only toxic, but it's dangerous. And now they say they're going to be tougher, and it's going to be, no holds bar, and they're going to get right up in people's faces. But haven't they been doing that for a long time anyway? Senator Hawley, yeah, I love this idea, Laura, that they think they need to be more insulting. As one news article said, oh, believe me, they're plenty insulting. I mean, I feel insulted every time I have to listen to them. They're the party of insults, and their policies are incredibly insulting. Here's their real problem. Their total contempt for the American people and the American worker and everything we believe in together. This is the party that goes to LA and blows up cars on the freeways while they wave Mexican flags. This is the party that says we've got to open the border because America is systematically racist. This is the party that says there's no such thing as a man or a woman, and biological men ought to be in women's sports. I mean, they're insane. They're totally nuts. And now to say, oh, I think we have a messaging problem. No. It's not the messaging. It's not the brand. It's the substance. That's why they're down in the dumps and why Trump is winning. Laura, Senator, we have a situation where the Democrat drama queens in Congress are just trying every day to get some attention by putting on a show. And then they show a clip that has like Cory Booker raging and going wild. And Laura says, again, it's all stunts and it's all theatrics. And they still think that's what got Trump elected. And Holly says, wow. And Laura says, I mean, it sounds very uncharitable, but are they really that stupid? Or are they just fanatics at this point? I honestly am flummoxed by it. I don't understand it. Holly, you know, sometimes the truth is a hard thing to face, Laura. By the way, I was there for that clip you just played. I had to sit through that. And I think this idea that the Democrats think they need to be more spontaneous and theatrical. They're not a party anymore. They are a theatrical troupe funded by George Soros. And that's what you saw today. That's what you see all the time. Joel says, he just said the quiet part out loud. Media, they're all controlled. They're all being paid off. They're all funded by outside entities, foreign entities. And that's why I'm telling you, when you say that these senators and congressmen and congresswomen are getting bold enough to call all this stuff out and not be afraid, that's why this is so important. Because I promise you, this D.C. Circuit Court ruled that President Trump can axe an additional $16 billion in climate grants. I promise you that all this $16 billion was not fully going for the climate agenda. I promise you people were getting paid. Money was flowing somewhere. And it's always because there's no accountability. They don't have to report back. Now let's go back to Senator Hawley. He says, and burning stuff. They're going to LA and lighting cars on fire. I mean, these people, their behavior is clownish. And the reason that they're clowning around is because their policies are so terrible. They don't have anything to offer. Let's just review. What did they give the American people? Open borders, jobs gone overseas, corporate malfeasance, wages flat. What's Trump doing? He's closed the border. He's getting our jobs back. Wages for blue-collar workers are finally rising. That's the ball game. I mean, game, set, match right there. That's why Trump is winning. That's why the Democrats are where they are. Laura. And Senator, not only does Mamdani, she's talking to the communist Mamdani of New York, who's trying to run for mayor there, oh my goodness. And Senator, not only does Mamdani, and I think a lot of others coming up through the ranks of the Democrat Party, at least they say they're entertaining abolishing private property, but also ending all prisons. Check this out. And then they show a Fox News clip with a banner that says, Mamdani wants to end prisons. And they show Mamdani talking, and he says, are prisons obsolete? I think that, frankly, I mean, what purpose do they serve? And then Hawley says, yeah, what purpose do they serve? Let me walk you through it. As a former prosecutor, I think I can help here. Here's the purpose they serve. They keep violent people away from law-abiding citizens. They keep our kids safe. They keep the criminals who want to unalive us away from those who are vulnerable. I mean, it's amazing you have to explain this stuff to Democrats. And then again, they wonder, gee, why is our approval rating at like 3%? That's why. Because the American people look at the Democratic Party and see a dumpster fire. And then we're going here to Stewart, the British Stewart on Fox Business, and he says, the title of this is, Trump might declare a national housing emergency. And Stewart says, he's talking to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and he says, Stewart says, you're a housing guy. What does a housing emergency do for the housing industry? And Scott Bessent says, well, I mean, Stewart, Not only do I support Trump declaring a national emergency, I actually think it's long overdue for a few reasons. The average median in medium-priced homes cannot be afforded by 75% of the population. This puts this economy in a very dire position. Now, I support a lot of what President Trump is doing, but if he really wants to declare victory, he's got to get this affordability issue resolved, and he has to restore the American dream. What a state of emergency will do is, I believe, it's going to put pressure on the Fed to lower rates. And Stewart says, you'll probably get lower mortgage rates, but what you really need is more housing being built. And then Scott Bessent says, the supply is going to solve a lot of this issue because a lot of people look at real estate and housing and they say, well, prices are still high. That must mean that the market is good. No, the market is terrible because there's no liquidity. And even those people who've been starved out of the single-family home market into the rental market, they're spending from 30 to 50% of their pay on rent. This puts people like me who are a landlord, that puts me in a very difficult position because most of my tenants are one bad economic turn away from being late for their payments. So if they don't do something about it, the American dream will not be restored. And Stewart says, it's just so different from the way it was when I first came to America all these years ago. Completely different. You know, middle-class people could afford their first home back in the day. Scott. Now they can't. Well, and not only that, it's that middle-class people can't afford a home. It's that middle-class people could afford a home, but they could also afford to live. Yeah, the times have changed. And then Joel mentions that President Trump says he's going to be adding an official portrait of Joe Biden's auto pen to his presidential wall of fame in the newly renovated White House Rose Garden. And when I hear that, I just get stuck on the words Rose Garden because to me, once again, just like how President Trump always said over and over again for years and years and years, Joe's shot. Joe's been shot. Joe's shot. Joe doesn't know where he is. Joe's not around. Joe's shot. He told you what happened, but people weren't listening. So when I hear something like in the White House Rose Garden, I think of something like Jojo is sleeping with the fishes. Yeah, like in the garden. He's not around. Hasn't been for a long time. All right, so that I think brings me up to speed enough that I can then produce this next podcast I want to put out with some more breaking stuff. I mean, there's stuff, you can't go a day and a night without so many things happening. It's an amazing time to be alive, but that doesn't mean that it's not stressful. So I really want to encourage all you guys, and I don't care which political affiliation you're on. I'm sure if you're on the left, you probably aren't even listening to me right now. So that's that. But whomever you are, I just want to say it's the time to take good care of yourself as best you can and your beloveds, and be, don't be stressing yourself out unnecessarily. Even though I know all this stuff going on, it's very much like being in a boat that's just rocking and rocking and rocking and rolling on the rough seas, on the high seas. But there's so much good going on. And the cleansing process, a good, deep, true cleansing process is not just a gentle, surface, flimsy process. It's a deep scouring, a deep scrubbing, and it takes time. So thank you so much for listening. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Ooh, I'm on a partial open air terrace and like a big motorcycle just rev by. Yes, let's go. Let's rev up our engines. Let's go. I end all my clips with the closing prayer, which is in Sanskrit and Telugu. And what I'm saying is, God bless all beings in all worlds. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes, peace, peace, peace. We're all looking forward to that. Goodness gracious. God bless you and yours. I'm sending much love and big hugs to you and yours. I'll see you when I see you, and bye-bye for now.